Welcome to Mountain Man Explore the Truth. How's everybody doing today or tonight, depending on the time you're listening to the podcast? I hope you are doing well, my friends. Today, we're going to be welcoming back on Donna. If you haven't listened to that episode or watch it on YouTube, you'll find it on there. It's called The Watchers. A very good episode, and I really enjoyed talking with Donna, and she's coming back on to share some more stuff with us. So I was looking forward to doing a part 2 with her, and I got others I'm going to be bringing on as a part 2 as well. I just need to reach out with them. It's been around the holiday season, and Donna reached out to me first, so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So she's gonna come on and share some stories of people who told her about, somebody that's told her about some experience they had, and I think she's gonna come on and talk about some paranormal experience that she's had as well. So on that note, guys, I hope you're all had a great holiday. Right now it's New Year's Eve, and this episode probably wouldn't be dropped till next week. I got some good or cool new news for you guys. I'm going to be doing an extra show for you. I'm going to try to do like once a week or once every other week. It's going to be called Mountain Man Talks. It's basically still the same show and everything. It's just me talking and having special guests come on and talk about subjects or whatever. So I'm going to be using that mainly for special shows I do, but it's going to be part of Mountain Man Explore the Truth. It's not a separate podcast or anything like that. It's just an extra episode to add in, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. I have lots to share on that, so I'm going to be doing an episode and dropping that probably. Actually, it'll probably drop before this one drops, so you've probably already seen it. So on that note, if you would, please share the show. It really helps the show out a lot. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. And if you're listening to on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Podbean, one of those platforms, please rate the show, especially on Spotify. Just give it a 5-star if you would, and download the episode and make a comment. It really helps bring it up in the chart there for people to see, so I can get more guests on the show for you to listen to and learn from. And on YouTube, please subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button, and please comment. I really appreciate your guys' support. Most thing you can do is hit those things for me, and that really helps the show out. More support, the better it gets. And I'm going to be trying to work on branching out on more stuff too, because I'm still learning as a small-time podcaster. I'm going to try to find other ways to get the show out there more, so that way I can get more guests on the show for you to listen to. For those of you that have subscribed and hit the follow button, I really appreciate you. You're awesome. Thanks for your support. And if you know anybody who has had an experience, encounter or books or conspiracy theory, anything's welcome to the show, guys. So be sure to email me, mountainmanett@gmail.com. Again, mountainmanett@gmail.com. And if you can't get a hold of me through there, you can try to email me at blake.botel, the number 4, @gmail.com. Again, blake.botel4@gmail.com. So you can try that email as well. Or you can private message me on Facebook. Look for Blake Botel, Botel. Really look forward to hearing from you guys. And once again, I hope you all had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. So bear with me for a minute, guys. We'll bring Donna on here shortly. Thank you. Today, we welcome back Donna. Donna, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor. I'm glad to have you back on. Go ahead and tell people what you're coming back for.
Well, I just had some more stories, and I had thought about this one. We talked about the dog man and the watchers last time, but I work with the veterans, and I had this very interesting gentleman who I've worked with for many, many years. He is a Vietnam vet, but him and his father actually did work for NASA, and they did research and development for like the big jet engine, the fighter planes out of Indiana. And this would have been, he was born in 1943, and this would have been when he was around 20. He had told me the story about him and his father were coming home, and they had picked his mother up, and they were traveling a country road. And, of course, they're working for the government. That's what they were doing. And he said all of a sudden there was this huge, big, bright, white light came over the car, and the car quit running. It stopped, and his mom's going crazy. She's crying and carrying on, and finally his dad tells her, like, knock it off, calm down. And he got out of the car, which he told me it was, like I said, this was back, well, he was born in 43, so it would have been in the 60s probably. So the father got out, and the light was over him, and I call him Barney. His name's Richard, but I call him Barney.
Okay.
And he said he wouldn't let him get out. He told him to stay inside. And it just, it was like it stayed over top of his dad for, a number of minutes, for a while, but they lost track of time. He said he didn't exactly know how long it was because it was like time stopped.
That's interesting.
And finally, of course, they're all upset, but he's like, everything just stopped. And he said, finally, this big light went away. It went back up into the sky, and his dad was kind of like dazed, and but he got back in the car, and when it went away, the car started. Now, mind you, this man, he works for the government. He has a very good car, and he was a race car driver too. In his spare time, he liked to race cars, so his car was top shape. There was no reason for it to just die. And at this time, I know everybody's heard the stories about, his father was a veteran too, but at this time they had brought over Kreinhauser, I think that's the way he pronounced his name. He's a German from the war, and he came, I guess part of his being able to come here was he worked for the government in research and development.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the next morning, his dad reports all this to them, telling them what happened, and they go in and they're having a big meeting with all the top people, high up, which that's the other thing with Barney. He has a very high clearance, we call security clearance.
Oh, okay.
Which I know this for a fact because, like I said, I've taken care of him for a number of years. And but anyway, they go in for the meeting, and they're all talking about what could this be, what happened. Of course, they're worried about security because they are carrying around. His dad kept everything in his head, all of his research on these big engines. These are, we're going to protect our country with this. And finally, Kleinhauser stands up and he says, well, they scanned him. So they now know, what he knows, they know, because he's, evidently there was the experiences before with alien contact, because, like I said, they had worked for NASA before that, and they had different areas, different jobs. They could travel all over the world. They did. And on this incident, but within 3 days of this incident happening, the father had a complete breakdown. Barney said the doctor would come to the house and see him, take care of him there, give him his medicine, give his mom a check. And so this went on for a number of months before he finally was able to get back to his somewhat normal self. And but this incident here stood out, but there was others with Barney from the time he was younger, because he said he remembered as he got older, I guess the memories kind of came back of them. He would say they came. He described them as they looked like humans and somewhat fair skin, white, blonde hair, different color eyes, but they were fair. And always the light. You know, they would take him, and he would lose time. And, you know, he told me these stories, and of course you always take everything in a grain of sand, you know, is it whatever. But as he got older, like I said, I've always taken him for his medical when he's a veteran. So I've taken him in to the Veterans Hospital because he has trouble walking now. He did he did 2 tours of Vietnam, straight into the fighting. He's a gunner. But then his last part, he was a Green Beret, and he's special. So, and he has a very colorful life.
Yeah, it sounds like he's been through a lot. And going back to where you were talking about the time loss, did he say how long it felt like that time loss was?
It's his father. That's what he said. It to him, it was like a matter of minutes, but he wasn't sure because they totally lost track of time. So, and when they would take him, you know, and then he would always be back where he started, you know.
Interesting. Okay.
But, you know, I'd taken him in, and the thing that piqued my interest was they were doing ultrasounds, and they x-rayed his legs because they were going to work on his leg. And he has never had surgery. He had never had surgery of any kind in his lifetime. And they did that, and the doctor comes in. He's like, you have a surgical clip, we think, behind your knee, but we can't get to it to take it out. And he's like, you know.
It's like I never had surgery.
Yeah, he had no surgery, none. And this is from the Veterans Hospital, and he's looking at him, and then he kind of looked at me, and then the wheels is turning in my head, and I'm like, he's telling the truth. You know, this is not, there's something in there. So it's still in there.
It's still in there, huh? Wow.
It's still there. So, but, you know, different incidents because, you know, the first time was when he was young with his father. Well, even younger than that, I guess, with him, when they would come and get him, he was like a teenager. And then this thing with his father. And then later on in life, of course, he had married, and his daughter, I believe at the time, she was like 17. And he was living here, not here where I live, but in a town farther on down in Ohio here. And again, he's still working research and development. I call him like MacGyver has nothing on this man. He has a mind and a brain that he can create anything from. He's amazing.
Pretty knowledgeable guy. That's awesome. It's becoming a rare thing in our world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But he said he was taking the daughter and her boyfriend for pizza. And again, they lived in the country, and they were coming out. He had a van, and he's like the same light, and he had like I don't know if you ever saw him. There was like a big metal flashlight. They held like 8 or 10 batteries, like the big D batteries.
Oh, yeah.
But it's metal, like the old coon hunter's light is what I call them. And he said that the van started sputtering and just dying, and that light rolled down, and it's going on and off and on, and it's rolling. And then it stopped and, like, started twirling, like, around in a circle, like a needle in a compass, like, you know. And,
wow.
Of course, his daughter is going crazy, and so he told her, you know, like, get out. And there was like a field, and he's like, go over there and get behind that tree and stay there. And he tried to kind of like move away. I guess his idea was, I'll get away from her to protect her. And again, the light came, the vehicle stopped. He didn't know how long, you know, he was gone. But again, he was taken again. And then, you know, then he's back. The daughter you know, she lost track of time too, because he didn't get that far away from her. And I did talk to her, and she's like, exactly what he said, how it happened. She was terrified. She saw the light, and the van stopped, but she didn't know, she did not remember anybody taking her or doing anything to her.
Mm-hmm.
But, but the time lapse, was, so in his lifetime, I think this has been, he's like, the other, there's other things that, of course, like I said, I work for a medical field, and he had to have some heart surgery, and they were doing blood work, and of course they're asking, and he's like, I asked her, I don't know, and he's like, did he have some kind of antibodies? Because there's something in his bloodstream that we don't know what it is. We can't explain it. We don't know. We've never seen anything like it or where it came from. Did he get some kind of vaccines? And I'm like, nothing that I know. And I've taken care of him for 30 years. So I've been involved for that amount of time. But that's the other thing. There is, there's a chip in his leg, and then this other, in the blood work, there's something that doesn't add up. So he tells the stories, and I truly believe him. There is, that evidence to, back him up.
Well, I hear a lot of similar reports like that on some other shows that people had the same thing, time loss, and then they had some little implant in them, and it's something like you said. Some of them didn't get it taken out for a reason, and then some people would talk about the implants being in their chest or they're being in back of their neck, and I've heard them being in the leg. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I would believe that.
You would just have to meet him. He has some dementia now, which is very sad because he does have this amazing mind. And he's a paleographer. He deciphers ancient languages, which we had worked on a lot of the Native American mounds and the petroglyphs and different stuff like that. I actually went along and worked. There was a crop circle, and that's been probably 20 years ago. It came down at a local site here. It's Serpent Mound in Peoples, Ohio. And I had actually worked with an attorney, which was part of a group. And because I'm a dowser, he had called me, and he's like, Donnie, could you come and just dowse these lines for us? So just get an idea, see what you think. So I agreed, and we go. And truly, this shape, it looks like a Mickey Mouse head. There's like this big round circle, and then off the side, looks like two ears. And I could look down into the field because it was a cornfield where he was in. And the thing about that is there had been like a huge thunderstorm and fog, really thick fog. And I'm thinking, probably the wind did it, or I'm trying to figure out in my mind how it could just do that one spot and make those designs, But it's like, okay, well, I get my rods and I start down, and as soon as I got to the outer ring of the one circle, the big circle, I was like, I got zapped. I mean, it was like I just almost went to my knees. The energy hit me so hard, and my nose just burst out bleeding. And I had a friend. She was up on the road, and she was looking down, and because she can tell I'm being really affected by something, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And of course, the attorney, he passed away now. So I'm not going to say his name because his family still lives here in the area. But anyway, I mean, they know me, so we were very good friends. he kind of helped me up, and I was like, I'm backing out. I don't want to be here because I don't know what this is. And there was a group. I came from Michigan actually to investigate this circle, and what they found was that the readings. They did the measurement, and they brought uh, very good equipment. This was not a backyard thing. This was very well put together. And they said it was like you would have exploded a giant microwave 2 miles down in the earth.
Wow. That's pretty interesting.
And it's actually, you can look it up on the internet. It's Serpent Mound, Peoples, Ohio, crop circles. And
Wow.
it is there. The research is there, the stuff that they did. And so that was uh, that was interesting to work with that. I mean, I did the dowsing for different things, like
Yeah, I think
I
the
did.
dowsing is a very interesting thing because I've heard people finding all kinds of weird, not just water sources, but just like you said, it's just they're finding different things and something to do with energy. And
It from the from the crop circle thing. There was a I would there was a group that I would go and work with sometimes. An actual serpent mound. It is a serpent,
hmm
and at the end of it, the head, there was an altar there that, oh my gosh, back in the 1800s, they took it out and just threw it over the hillside, and there's like a creek down there, and it was lost. But again, Richard was there, Barney, and he had he does like I said, he's a paleographer, deciphers the ancient languages and different sites, and he's like, you need to set the gome pole, which, they're like, what in the world was that? So he explained it to him at the end. It's a pole, but it's kind of like a sundial type thing, and you set it up, and this was at summer solstice. Um, so he chose that date. He set it up, and um, when we first come in, you go to the end, and the other older gentleman, his name was Emerson, and I would work with him sometime. And he told me, he's like, "There's a door here, but I can't open it." He said, "There's a path to let you. You need to open that to get into that site." And which I'm like, yeah, I never did that before, so I just kind of looked at him and he's like, "You can do it, but I can't, but you can." So, and I did my thing. I have this little routine I do, which I've been taught. Which might sound silly to people, but I take an egg and I say a prayer. I'll toss that egg over my shoulder, and it, of course, it busts on the ground. And it's kind of like everything comes from an egg. Life comes from the egg.
hmm
It's an old spiritual type thing, and I started with my rods, and I went in, and he stood back, and he's like, looking, and I walked inside. Now there's another group that's not inside where I'm at, but they're off in, and they were taking pictures. Of course, they're documenting everything that's going on. And when the sun hit that pole, and again, you may think this is crazy, but I actually, my house burned a few years ago up here that had a lot of my work in it.
Oh, sorry to hear
Uh,
that.
they were using like the old Polaroid type cameras, you know what I mean, where
hmm
it comes out and you have to shake it and do that. And then, of course, they were using other cameras too. And when I went and the sun hit that pole and it lit up and it went back, and there was like this bright light opened. And now this wasn't dark. This was of the evening. It wasn't dark when it was getting dusk, but it was still daylight. And it was like this light opened up, and I could see it, and it shimmered, and I did not see anything with my naked eye. So when we got those pictures, there was like a woman in full Indian dress holding a baby. A picture like it stepped into that vortex. It was like a portal, whatever.
Wow.
She stood there. Now, this is a very sacred site. And for a minute, it wasn't a long time, but she's looking. You can see her head move a little bit. She got the baby cradled in her arm. And she took that step forward, and then she stepped back and was gone. But I had it in the pictures, like I said. I don't know if any of the other groups still has theirs or not. I haven't been with them for many years now.
Yeah, when you're bringing that up, it's a similar thing that I've felt like I've had dealt with too in life. I back when I was younger, I remember telling you off the air, and we're messaging each other, that sometimes I see like shadow figures, and I guess you call them shadow people. And
yeah.
I had an incident happen with my cousin where it looked like somebody was coming through, and then they backed out, and it looked like they went through a portal. So it was kind of weird. It looked like he said what he saw looked like an old man coming towards me, almost through me. But then he said when it backed out, it looked like it went through some kind of portal. I didn't see it, but I felt the chill. So that made me remember that when you were bringing that up.
I saw the shadow people years ago where I lived. Like I said, I was born like by Buzzard Roost, and then I moved to the big farm. And then when I got married and I had my oldest son, I moved back to the old, is a smaller house on the old farm ground by Buzzard Roost in Red Rock. And it was actually an old cabin. Half of it was an old cabin from the 1800s and had been floated across Brush Creek, brought up onto the farm, and then built around it. So it was a small house. But that part of the house was where the log cabin part was. You couldn't sleep in there, no matter what. I had one big bedroom, and actually, my son slept. That was our bedroom, and my son slept in there. And then when I had my second son, I put bunk beds in because I tried going to that part, and on the first night, which, like I said, in my lifetime, I've experienced a whole lot of stuff. I grew up in a house that was. Oh God, that's another story I'll tell you at a different time because it's very scary. That was scary. But I moved the bed in there to try to make more room. And the first night, I sleepwalk. I always have. My grandma used to put me, even though I was older, she would put me in a crib, and to keep me, if I got, so she would hear me if I got out, because when I'm asleep, I walk, but everything that I do while I'm awake, I can unlock doors. I get into stuff. I can walk. I go out and walk in the snow, and it doesn't wake me up. So my husband, after he soon learned, put the bed against the wall and put me in the back, and if I try to get up, I would wake him up, like climbing over top of him, I would wake him up.
Yeah,
And
sleepwalking is a pretty scary thing. I have an oldest that does something like that, and kind of stopped now, but every now and then he'll wake up and he's talking in his sleep, and I'll be like, "Are you all right?" And then that's how I know he's basically sleepwalking, because he's not all there. But yeah, that's a scary thing. I'm glad you don't disappear off somewhere.
yeah, I talk and I did strange things,
Mm-hmm.
but on that night, like I said, I was on the back side, and I saw coming through the door the black shadow. There was three, and just the outline of kind of human form, And of course, I'm thinking, okay, I'll do the Lord's Prayer, or I'll, whatever. And I thought, I'm just going to, like, cover my head up, or, try to act on. I was young. When I got married, I was young. And the scary part was they came to the bed, and it was like they reached through my husband. And again, I'm thinking, I'm laying on my back, and you know, I can't wake him up. It's like whatever's going on, he's not waking up. And above me, it levitated, and it floated above me, this black figure, and it was almost like it was shadow, like black shadow, with I don't want to say, I don't want to say robes, but anyway, or whether it was just a shadow that loomed down. It's literally within 12 inches over top of me, over my face. It's floating over top of me. And so I quickly moved back to my other bedroom. And the thing of it was, they could come to the door. They would come to the door, but they could not enter into that room.
So was that the shadow people you're recalling on, or?
Yes, they would come, and after me living there, my older brother and his wife, and it was the same thing. She's like, you can't go to sleep on the couch. I was like, no, you have to stay in that room. She's like, you seen them too? And I was like, yeah, I've always seen them. She's like, she was going to the bathroom, and she's like, oh my God, they're she's like, they're in that, they're in. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. That wasn't, the cabin was old from the 1800s. We did have a lot of the Shawnee were there. There's a lot of attacks. There's a lot of people killed. And I really never figured that part out. And part of the old house is still there. I went down a few months ago, and I actually took some pictures. It's kind of fallen in, the old part of the house. Now, the part that was the cabin, it's got the old logs. It's still upright, but they're around it. So
That's
it was a very
interesting.
interesting place. Yeah, it was. It could be interesting.
Yeah, I've always felt like these spirits, shadow people, I don't know if they're ghosts or something else that's trying to appear to us. It always seems to happen in areas where there's some kind of history or something dark happen. Because that's where I
Right.
saw certain things myself. I don't know a lot of backstories on these old houses I was living at when I was a kid, but I definitely seen something in the basement, and I couldn't explain that. And then nowadays, in the past life, I've always seen some kind of shadow figure, but it was like the corner of my eye, and I go to look up, what was that? And then it disappears. And I always just,
It,
thought it was my imagination. And I've always told my wife, I go, I always feel like I saw something. And when I tell her these things, she goes, that's funny that you say that, because we had experience down the hallway in the house, and we thought something was going on, touching the door, opened the door, shut the door. And I go, that's creepy, because that's where I saw a shadow figure one time that at a house we were renting. And stuff was going on. And she was like, oh, well, that answers my, she just, waved it off like, oh, it's nothing probably. But then when I told her that, she goes, oh, wow, something was going on. And then she would tell me
yeah.
about stuff she experienced. So that's interesting.
When they move, it's like you'll see a flash. Of course, like I said, over my lifetime, my grandma was, of course, the old country lore, superstition, or whatever, and they call it being born to the veil. When you're born, you have a veil on your face, which means you can walk between the worlds, the two dimensions, or whatever. That's old time. I think part of it is old gypsy. Country people have their own ways. It's like, when somebody passes away, you drape the mirrors and do the. And I still do that. It's like when I bathe them and prepare them, and I still do that. I did my dad. I did my mom. I did my grandma. It's just part of your heritage, that kind of thing. And I have
Yeah.
seen, in my life, I have seen the house I grew up in. Downstairs you were fine. It was a big country, old-time country farmhouse, and it had 4 bedrooms upstairs, which you could not stay in at all. Beautiful house. The yards were like beautiful flower gardens and all of this. And I think I was like 5 when we moved there, and the bedrooms downstairs. And my grandma and grandpa always lived with me, or with my parents. And they'd taken the upstairs room, and then I have 2 older brothers. Of course, they always stayed where my grandma and grandpa was. They're a bit older than me, and they'd taken the upstairs rooms. And it was a short time. They came back downstairs. They didn't stay up there. Well, as I got older, I was the oldest daughter, and I wanted my own room. So I decided I'm taking one of the upstairs bedrooms. I think I was just turning 11, I think. And when you went up the stairs, you went up, there was a landing, then you went up like 3 more steps, and then onto the top floor, there was the bedroom. And but hanging down, this is old time. There's a big long cord that hung down from the ceiling, and you pulled that cord to turn the light on. Well, I had set up my bedroom and got all my stuff done, and I had heard little things like, and I'm thinking, oh, it's a mouse, or maybe, God help me, it might be a rat out there scurrying around. But on this night, I started up the stairs. It was, I don't know, it's probably 10 o'clock at night or whatever. And I was eating a banana. That's what reminds me. And that cord, I pulled the cord, and the light wouldn't come on. So I thought we had a pole light was outside in one bedroom, and it was shining through. So I had a little bit. It wasn't like bright light, but it was a light. So I just went on up the stairs, and I got to the top, and the one bedroom was to the left, and the other one's in front. And in that doorway, the door was open. Of course, the light is shining through. That was the brightest room. And I got there, and I look, and I see like the shadows shimmer, shimmer, shimmer. And again, I'm thinking, well, it's just something reflecting from the light.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood there, and as I stood there, it starts rising up out of the floor.
Wow.
And it was like long black hair coming down, and I'm watching, and it just comes up more and more, and I can see this hanging, but I can't see if there's a face inside, which I'm either going to go back down the stairs, which I'm terrified to move. I mean, I was literally petrified. Yeah. And I decide I'm going to run through it into my room and lock my door, which I did. I made it into my room, and in this, the door had, you're too young probably to know these kind of locks, but it was like this little latch. It went over, and you pushed it down, and it locked the door. Mm-hmm. Well, I jumped into my bed, and I've got the blankets pulled up, and all of a sudden, the whole wall, the door, it's like boom, 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 and this wall is shaking. That door is, and I'm thinking it's going to bust through. And I look, and the only way I can explain this is like the room is breathing.
Wow.
It's like it's breathing. The walls are just like, like a lung would be breathing, pushing in, and I'm screaming. I am screaming to the top of my lungs. Nobody ever heard me. Nobody ever came. So in this, there was the window had on this, you could open that like a door and go out. There's a big porch roof, and the old-time TV antenna where you had to go outside and turn it, there's a pipe. And I'd went down it before, I was a kid. And I finally, and it's just like, oh my God, I don't know how they could not hear the noises that was coming. And it was like this horrible noise, it's like, and it's breathing, the walls are breathing, and it's just shimmering.
That's creepy.
I got out there, and I got onto the roof, and I went down that pole, like hand over hand, Of course, like I said, I grew up in the country, so I was always, I was into something all the time. So when I hit that ground, of course, I'm barefooted, and I ran to the back door, and I'm beating the door. And my grandma, she's like, "What are you doing? Why are you outside? What are you doing?" I was like, "It's you." I'm hysterical. And she said, "I told you not to go up there." She did not elaborate. She's like, "Just come on, come to my room. You're not going back up there." And you could hear this, the stairs. Of course, we kept the door shut, and you could hear like old boots, like somebody in heavy boots walking down. They go bump, bump, bump down the steps, and it get to, like it was getting to the bottom, and then it couldn't come through that door to come to the bottom, into the bottom part of the house. It could not come out of that area. But again, that door opened and into my mom and dad's bedroom. There was another door, and then another. It's like 3 doors there, and then the door in all the kitchen. And one day I was coming past, and the door was kind of open, like in our retro. I was meant to close it, but it flew back, and there was like this horrible face, like it flew down the stairs at me. Of course, again, I'm screaming. My dad was behind me, and he grabbed me, and I'm going, "You see it, you see it," and he kicked the door shut, and he's like, "Oh, come on, you're just being." He saw it, but he would not admit to me. He didn't want to scare me. I think that's what it was. He just wanted me to think I was having a hysterical fit, I guess. But whatever lived in that upstairs, later on as I got older, I'm curious. I like history, and I do genealogy. So I kind of researched the old farm, and in the beginning, there was a family that lived there, and their last name was Footwinger. I know that's a weird sounding name. But when I researched the story, they said there was the mother and the son, and the mother, they said she was a witch, and the son took after her, evidently, and they had actually lived there in that house, and there was other areas. Of course, and my mom would do home, like help. They had, in them days, it wasn't like nursing homes. They would have people that would take people in and take care of them when they were older.
Mm-hmm.
And an aunt had actually taken the man, of course, he's old now. The mother had passed away many, many years before. And he was old, probably in his late 70s, maybe 80. And she had taken him in to care for him. And this is stories that everybody everybody knows these stories, because I actually spoke to the minister at the church. She's like, "Yeah, my grandma," she's like, "He can make the chamber pot walk." And my mom had told me the story about of course, they had the old-time TVs, and he wanted to watch wrestling, I guess. And the lady that ran the place told him no, they were somebody else's turn or whatever. And he told her, "Well, it's not going to work until I can do what." And the TV it wouldn't work. And he said, "When you let me do what I want, it'll work again." And so I guess it went on 2 or 3 days, and so finally Storm's like, "Okay, John, you can come out, And lo and behold, it worked. So, but there was stories of things these people could do, and I don't know. I can't. This is old stories, but whatever was in that house, whether it pertained to them or somebody else, or what happened there, it wasn't good. So I like the old stories, and I listen. People tell them to me. So
Yeah, I love them too. I've been watching a lot of, especially these shadow people stories. I've been watching a lot on YouTube, trying to figure out what they are, just, people or something demonic or something else, and I think they're just, like coming in and out, trying to appear to us, but it come out as a shadow. And I think that's why they come up with that name shadow people, because they can't make out what it is. Now, if you see with red eyes, and I'm going to think, that's probably demonic.
Yeah. It,
So, yeah.
I think, like they say, the veil gets thinner at times, and that's when more things can come through, or this is the way I've heard the stories, and
Mm-hmm.
when people do bad things, it will take, that place can take on that energy, I guess.
Do you think the shadow people are something bad or just something different or between? What do you think?
Like it. The one at the house when I was older, like I said, at the house where I raised my family at, it didn't try to hurt me. There was three of them. It was like they were there, but there was no. I didn't feel anything demonic, or it was like they were there, and I don't know why they were there. Now, in the house where I grew up, that had an evil to it. I think it wanted to hurt people, and I think it was bad. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying is, I think sometimes it takes on whatever happened there. Maybe they're looking for help. Maybe they need to move on, and they're trapped, or they haven't. There's something they haven't done that they have to do before they can go on. That's the other part I've been told. Until they. My go-to thing is the Lord's Prayer. That was, my grandma did teach me that. So she's like, when all else fails, go to that. And
Yeah, I believe the power of prayer works. I've heard a lot of people say when they say the name of Jesus and all that, and these things go away. So it's not just the shadow people; it's all these other things that people experience. And it makes you
right,
wonder. It makes you really wonder.
yeah, in my lifetime, like I said, I've seen a lot of strange things in my life. Um, when Well, again, like I said, it goes back to the Watchers type thing. The area where we went the one night, it's also burial grounds back there. There's native burial grounds.
See, that's
And
interesting.
me and the one girl, we would walk in and do pictures and kind of just map it out, see where you could drive, because most of them would just drive in and they set up and they set by the cars. But we will go in and actually walk the trails, or we did. And we had started in, and they're logging, which is disturbing. There's so much destruction. They're taking out so much woods and the big trees that hasn't been touched for hundreds of years. They're clearing that out
Yeah,
in
that's
this
sad.
area. And we went down, and you could see where they had dozed there along the trail, or the road, actually my road. And we're walking along, and we're finding all kind of obsidian and stuff that's on top of the ground. And she's just going crazy. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is on top of the ground." Like, yeah, this is a very unique site here. I hate it that they're destroying it, but I don't own it, and I can't stop it. It's privately owned, and he's
Mm-hmm.
doing it. So your hands are tied. You can tell
Exactly.
them, you can ask them, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's
And
sad when you see them logging all the forests down. I think we got better technology and alternative ways to build things, especially if you start with hemp. You grow a farm hemp, you could build a lot of, you could build plywood out of hemp, a bunch of stuff. So it's like, I'm not trying to sound like a tree hugger, but it's just, I think we got the technology now to move up to some other things.
well, this is 400 acres of just virgin land that has not been touched
Wow.
in 200 years.
Yeah.
It's been the mounds are in there, but on this day we come around through, and I go over. There is she says child. She finished my sentence, and they're sitting on just like a little mound of dirt. There's this child, maybe 6, 7 years old, is just sitting there. Is a Native American child,
Oh, wow.
and we saw it both at the same time, and it was like there and then gone. And maybe a couple of weeks later, they had came out and they were going to do a investigation that night for the watchers, and they set up almost at the exact same spot where we saw that child. And I even told them, I was like, this is where we saw the ghost child at. And, it's like, and they kind of looked like a really, they question, are you nuts? But they did that, and all of a sudden, it was into the night. We'd been there maybe 3 or 4 hours, and I'm standing there, and the shadow came, and it went past me so fast. I stepped back and kind of hollered just a little bit because it surprised me so much. And they're like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? Did you see something?" And I'm like, "You didn't?" And well, seeing you jump back because your first instinct, it surprises you. But that area, it's a wonderful place. It has all kind of wonderful things, but all of that, it's like going into a cemetery and you're digging up a cemetery. You're disturbing their rest. So
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. It happens everywhere, and a lot of them just hush hush on it, and they're like, don't tell nobody about it. But the people who live around there know the history, and they're they get pretty upset about it, and eventually it gets exposed, and they try to save it, but it's just pretty disturbing when they do that stuff. It's like when are we gonna put a stop to that? 'Cause you shouldn't disturb the burial grounds.
yeah, I can get very vocal sometimes, and of course, um, mostly nobody wants to hear it. There's a lot of people. I mean, there's people that does and that cares, but then there's a lot, and it's like, well, it's my land. I do what I want with it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I'm going to take this timber out, there's like millions of dollars worth of timber, which there is. This is really good money making timber, but what you're losing, you're gaining in that way. What you're losing in history, and just destroying and disturbing, and I get a little emotional sometimes about it.
Yeah,
But
I hear you there. I get to that point too. Me and my wife talk about it. We we look at we look at it and go, it's time for changes. Because there's some things we done. We're like, I feel like I'm more at peace in the woods, and I think we need to respect the forest. Yes, we use firewood for keeping us warm, but I don't take anything that's alive down. I look for something that's already dead. And I don't know. It's just you get one with nature, and you just feeling like you got to show it more respect, and I wish other people would do the same. And a lot of people just I like to call them concrete people. They just don't open their mind and realize
yep,
that we are attached to nature, and we got a connection with it. And when you disconnect from it, you're becoming a robot. You're not what you're supposed to be. Um,
that I I have my 23 acre. This is the smallest place I've ever lived, but I do so. I burn wood. I
mhm.
have wood stoves. I actually had an issue last week where my electric was out. I have the old time wood cook stove that has the water reservoirs on the
All right,
side.
on those are cool.
And, yeah, it's like my grandma's, and I can cook on it. It was before Christmas, so I could not. I cook with electric too, but I could not do that. So I'm half. I was like, it's fine. I'm going to use my wood stove, and it takes a little longer, and I can honestly say, Grandma wore that big long apron for a reason because it protects the heat from your belly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are cool. I like to get one for whatever we get. And that's my goal is to go after some property and try to save, what I can save. You can only do what you can, save a little chunk here and there, and try to keep things going. And I wish everybody was like minded to save the forest and land, wherever you are.
My water. I don't have city water. My water comes from springs. I have big springs. When I bought the property, first thing I did was I walked it, and I found there's 3 springs right here close where I was going to put the house. I don't even have to have a well pump. It gravity feeds. 100 degrees outside and it's ice water coming out of the tap, it can get a little, because it is so cold, you can have little issues with the hot water tank, but
Yeah.
it is, and it's clean. I had tested. It's clean and pure, and
It's best water.
so I don't have to pay a water bill. The water tap comes. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Because I was like, oh, I was like, no, I don't want it. I don't need it.
Yeah, my
If I have,
father-in-law has spring water out here, and that's what we use. And during the summertime, towards the end of summer, it dries out, but it's wonderful water, and it's just the way he's always been. He eventually wants to put a well in, but it's so expensive over here. But he's just feeding off the spring water he's always have, and yeah, it's way. I noticed the different. When you go in town, drink a glass of water from the tap water, it tastes funky. It tastes like chemicals. And then when you go to
yep.
drink the spring water, you're like, oh man, it's refreshing. You feel good. So I feel like in my opinion, I feel like the city water is poisoning people. In my opinion.
Mine never goes dry. I mean, this year is the first year in 30 years that the water tables dropped somewhat, but it never stopped running.
Hmm.
And like I said, I have 3 different springs, so I have I have the spring that runs to the clean tank, and then it runs to the holding tank that feeds the house. And if one starts going down any, I can just switch. I'll just switch the line and run it from there. And so that was my dad. Like I said, my dad, he hunted and trapped the roots. And when I bought my property, he had this big, huge can of ginseng berries. And he laughed and he handed them to me. He's like, now go plant these and you always have money in the bank. Meaning the ginseng is in the banks. And whenever at the end of the year, of course, you can't harvest it now until like September. You have very strict rules on ginseng now, which we never had before, but we do now. The other roots are different. They don't have quite a
Yeah,
strict season.
that's
But
awesome.
I say that and then I have a smaller greenhouse, and we started bringing in. We never dig anything smaller than a 4 point. So, and the berries are collected and replanted. And my big problem is to keep people out of that. That's my problem. It's not growing it. It's to keep the people out of it, because if they know it's there, they'll poach. They'll come in.
Hmm.
But it's
Trespassing and trying to take it, huh?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
well, I have my herb. I've used the plants for medicine. I make salves, and then I have a liniment that I make that is like I use it. My mom had cancer, and I didn't want to drug her up so much, but she had horrible pain in her legs, and I make it for the veterans because I can put that on. I had a gentleman that had not slept through the night in years, and he refused pain meds. He would not take them. And so I made that, and his legs, they hurt so bad. I put those on. I rubbed his legs down, and he slept through the night.
Yeah,
And he said,
see,
how?
I think we got a lot of medicine that's in our backyard, that we can use that's way better than what the doctors are giving us. I think all those pills out there, opiates, whatever they are poisoning us slowly, and that's what they want, and what God gave us out here is everything out in the land, that we just got to learn about what we could take and what's natural, and it'll help you. Like I've heard a recent study about grapefruit extract that it could. I'm not 100% sure if they're accurate on it, but it can kill cancer cells. So that's another thing to look into. It's pretty interesting.
Well, my mom, she had breast cancer. She was stage 4 when we found it.
Oh wow,
I had been sick, and I always took care of her, and I had to have an ache. I had open heart surgery. I had 4 bypasses,
wow.
and
Okay.
this was emergency open heart surgery.
Wow.
And I died twice. The surgery was like 15 hours, and in that time, I died twice. I bled
Wow.
out twice.
Well, I'm glad you're here. That's scary.
In my lifetime, I've actually died 3 times in my lifetime. I was like, God, is that, I'm not a cat. I probably don't get 7. I got 3. I had gotten hurt when I was taking my oldest son to kindergarten, and a kid, he was 16, just got his license, and he ran into the side of my car, and it forced me off the road. And the car flipped, and it hit a concrete embankment, and then it rolled 4 times. And I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter. I was smashed from head to foot. There was hardly anything. It wasn't broken. My left leg was nearly cut off, and it took out my right lung. Wow. The other one filled up. It bruised my heart. That's where my heart started. It damaged my heart when I got hurt then. And but of course, little small country town, little small country hospital, and I got shipped to Cincinnati. But it was later in the day, and the only thing I kept saying was, I was 6 months pregnant. Please God, don't let my baby die. That's the only thing I could think about was this. And I never had a labor pain. I carried my baby 3 months to the exact day and gave birth.
That's
and
amazing.
The only thing there was like a cobwebby thread that had been feeding her, like, the cord, that's how they feed them or whatever. And that's all there was that was attached to her. So I said, if that wasn't a miracle, I don't know any other. But it took me a year to walk, and I had a broken pelvis, and I delivered her naturally with a broken pelvis and a leg that was
That's amazing. I'm glad you're with us, and that's incredible. I didn't know that, and that's definitely a miracle. And it sounds like you've been through a few miracles, and it sounds like God's not done with you. You have a purpose. So.
Well, it's in my lifetime, there's been different things. I was like, I just try to help where I can and do whatever. I was like, he kept me here for some reason, so
Yeah.
He'll show me the way or whatever. But I think when you do have those experiences, though, it makes you more inclined to see the other side and think about.
I have to agree with you. I feel like that probably opens up more doors and abilities in your mind, and you experience more things that people don't. And I think that's what goes on in the world, is that people are so closed up and poison their body with all these chemicals and food they eat, and it closes it up so they don't know or how to use the ability. So they just look at you that you're crazy, but it's because they're not experiencing it.
I don't like medicine. I will do anything to avoid taking
Oh, I hear you there.
any. I don't like it. And,
I'm trying to I'm trying to get away from because I used to take stuff for my migraines and my allergies, and my wife has been finding natural supplements, and they seem to be working. You just got to take them quite often to get used to them to be able to work. Um, my migraines are not as severe as they used to be since I've been taking them. They're getting better, but I've always had migraines since I was a kid, so they sometimes make me sick, and sometimes I don't get sick. I just get a bad headache, and I just sleep it off, and then it finally goes away. And so I've been trying to avoid pills because I don't want to damage my body. I'm 40 years old, and I want to keep going.
it well, I've had, I used to have, I don't have them anymore, thank God, knock on wood. But I would have so severe that I would just incapacitated. I could not move. I mean, no light would kill me, and the pain. Oh my gosh, the pain.
Yeah. Pain is what does it, and then you kind of end up going to a doctor for that prescription, but it only takes care of the pain for the time being, and then it comes right back. So.
Yeah. Well, that's my other thing, which I did not find that out until I was older. Like I said, I grew up on a farm. I used to ride bulls. Now, I broke horses. I have had my brothers did it. They did it. I had to do it. They're older than me, but we would bring the the bulls in, we bring the cattle in, and it was just, they did it, I did it. And so later, I always had problems with my back. And at work, I worked in nursing home, and I'd fallen. And the chiropractor, the only relief I would get was from the chiropractor. And he wanted to do an MRI, and he's like, I think there's something wrong. And he did an MRI, and between my shoulder blades that goes into my brain, I have what they call a syrinx, which means my spinal cord is open. It's like, yeah, it's like spina bifida in reverse, like it'll be on it. Mine is inside, but my spinal cord is open.
Wow.
When they X-ray, you see just a black mass type thing. And they're like, how can you walk? We don't understand how you're normal, and this doesn't happen. And you're like one in so many million of people that will have that, and they don't function.
Wow.
You're fully functional your whole life. Like, well, you don't understand. I did everything. I logged.
Yeah.
I did in manual work. I grew up on a farm. I rode. I mean, I've been stomped. I've been kicked. I've been thrown through. It was just just me. But
yeah, it sounds like you, Donna, had a guardian angel around you, trying to keep you going.
I think I had a whole host of them. I think I had an army.
That's awesome.
When the one that was like wiping her head, it's like, just take her, get her out of here.
Wow.
Oh,
that's amazing.
But my poor grandma, I said, I think about it now. I was like, I was such a horrible child. I had to put her through all of that. And my dad he never spanked me my whole life. He would give me that look, and if I thought I made him mad or hurt him, worse than, getting a spanking. But boy, my grandma, she put the switch to you.
Yeah, that's how my grandmother was. We were out of line. She let us know. Yeah, people call it abuse, but no, it's just putting you in line.
Oh yeah, she would do the like the little a little keen switch, she called it, because it would come around cracky twice.
Yeah. All she had to do was use her voice, and and we're like, okay. We fall in line.
I can also say, she never, and I deserved it. And if I did, she did it, I deserved it. I have to say that.
That's the way I am too. If I was out of line, I definitely deserved it, and But well, Donna, I don't know if you had any more to share about the shadow people. Did you or no?
Well, like I said, I have seen them. Some, I think it's like with everything there is. I think it depends on why they're there and what their life is. Because I just think it's people from before that hasn't.
It's something of the old, you think, or did you think it's just something where they're kind of trapped and they're coming through, trying to come through?
I know I had bad experiences, and then they weren't scary. It disturb you, of course, and but sometimes I think they're there for a reason, to show you something. There's something there that needs to be done, or something they need to still do to give them peace.
Yeah.
And then maybe some of it is because there was bad people doing bad things, and kind of maybe let through things that, because I truly believe, if you believe in God, you got to believe in the devil. You got to believe that there's evil and good. Is the way I look at it. And I've always been taught, you stay in the middle. You can't. Nobody can be perfect. Nobody can be, like the most perfect person in the world. You just can't do it because you're human.
Exactly. We're humans. We're gonna make mistakes and learn from it, and you get better at it, and try not to make that mistake again. Yeah, I find it really interesting, and I really enjoy having you come back on and talking about the shadow people, because I've had similar experience, and I had a lot more I can tell about that, but I'll be making an episode on that. It's part of the Mountain Man Talk. I'm going to do extra shows where I'm talking about some experience and bring special guests on. Like, I'll definitely welcome you back on one of those shows if you just want to come in and be a guest and just talk about whatever. And
any time.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'll probably end it here because we hit about an hour, and I really enjoyed chatting with you and learning about what you experienced. And I really appreciate you sharing the story of what was his name?
From Richard. His name's Richard,
Richard.
but I call
Okay.
him Barney.
Barney. Okay.
So,
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting story right there. You hear a lot like those stories, so I definitely would believe him. He's probably got more to
he
tell
is.
you.
Yeah, he is a very unique man, and I he's very sick right now,
Yeah.
and which I have taken. Like I said, I've known him since I was. Of course, he's a lot older than I am, and I've known him since I was a little kid. He used to come to church with his grandma. Of course, he was grown up and had a wife, and I was probably 6. So, it's just, he's one of, I call them my guys. I have different, I have some veterans that other people don't like to deal with. But Barney, he's like this, he's this big, gentle, wonderful person and very kind. He won't step on a bug. He won't. He said when he came home from Vietnam, he said, "I promise God I will never kill another thing," and he won't. He will not. So he's a unique person, and anybody that meets him loves him.
Well, so are you, Donna. You're you're really a unique person, kind person. Showing kindness to other people is what's important, and that's what we need more of in this world. So I think it's awesome that you do those things.
I appreciate that, but I think I just try to I treat everybody the way I want to be treated. So
I hear you.
If I can help somebody, that's a blessing to me. I like helping people. So but thank you for having me back. And if you ever need a fill in, I'm around.
Well, I'll definitely reach out to you. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and I'll bring you on some Mailman talk shows, and we can talk about whatever, because I'm pretty sure you'll have some good input on it too. So.
I've got a few years of different experiences.
Right on. All right. Well, you have a lovely day, and then hopefully the weather gets better for you over there.
Oh, I will be glad if the mud will just dry up.
That's my problem. I was dealing with some nasty mud over here, and I'm glad springtime's around the corner, but winter just started, so we just got to get through that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, if whatever's going to be is going to be. So.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, you take care.
Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, guys, that was the show. I really enjoyed talking with Donna and hearing about her experience with the shadow people, and her sharing the story of Barney, of his, abduction. And I think it was his father's abduction, if I remember right. But yeah, we get into, all kinds of stuff and learning from it. And I really enjoyed Donna. She's a kind person, and I really love talking to people like that. So I like to get more people on the show like her, and other people that are comfortable talking to me about their experience. I'm here to listen and learn from you and help you with the best way I can. I'm not no expert. I'm just a guy that's learning about the unknown. I'm interested in Bigfoot, this dogman thing, and paranormal, and conspiracy theories, UFOs, you name it. Everything that's out of this world that you don't think is real. And that's the thing, though, is hearing all these people's stories. It's just not stories; it's what they experience, And I believe them, because I've had some experience of my own, and it opened my mind, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, there's a lot more going on. So I really appreciate you guys all supporting the show, and the best thing you could do is share the show. I'm going to work on trying to get it out there more on other platforms. On Spotify, please hit that follow button and give me a 5-star rating if you would. It really brings it up in the charts so other people will check out the show and want to come on, and more guests for you. And on YouTube, would you please hit subscribe and then comment and thumbs up, and that really helps bring it up in the YouTube channel for people to see too. I'd like to thank all the people that are following and supporting the show. I really appreciate you. I wouldn't keep going if it wasn't for you guys. I really want to keep it going and bringing the numbers up, and more listeners come on and more stories will come out to share. Hopefully I'll be able to reach out to a lot of people that haven't been on shows yet. That's what's important, to get more people's stories out. I'm down bringing people on that already been on shows. It's just verifies their encounter, and you know, you might miss something in their other past encounter on a show that they remember on your show that you didn't hear. You're like, whoa, he didn't say that before, because you know, sometimes people, you know, go and talking about their experience to forget these little things that are important. I think that's what's important, the detail of their experience. And I'll tell you right now, Bigfoot is real, and paranormals are real, UFOs are real, and conspiracy stuff, yeah, it's real, not just theories. But yeah, you know, thanks again, guys. So if you want to come on the show, email me at mountainmanett@gmail.com. Again, mountainmanett@gmail.com. Or you can email me at blake.botel4@gmail.com. The number 4, that is. And then you can, if you have to, you can find me on Facebook and look for Blake Botel, Botel. Be looking forward to hearing from you guys, and much more to come. And Happy New Year. I'm pretty sure this is going to be playing on next week after the New Year, but hey, Happy New Year. I hope you guys had a good one. Stay tuned, more to come. Thanks for watching, guys, or listening, and I appreciate you. Until next time, let's explore the truth together. Thank you.